wanted to spend a few minutes today talking about um, finding some clarity when you're just newly retired and you're trying to figure out what's going to happen now in your next few years. I want to talk about finding clarity in new retirement, that new season of your life. And I want to start off by saying specifically that, well, I want to be very clear in this statement. Retirement is not the end of your story. I mean, so many people look at when they retire, that's the end of their ability to contribute. It's not true. Retirement is not the end of your story. For me, and for so many people that I talk to, it's actually the beginning of a brand new chapter in your life. That's all it is. It's a reset. But here's the truth that most people don't like to talk about. Clarity in retirement doesn't always show up all by itself. It doesn't show up all on its own. I've seen this over and over again, many times. Retirees wake up feeling like, well, they're uncertain about their new purpose in life. And recognize this. If that's you, I want you to know this. You're not broken. I mean, this is normal. This is a normal feeling. We see this all the time. When our routines disappear and our job titles are gone, we lose what I call the anchor that used to prepare our days, structure our days. And without that anchor, it's easy to feel a little lost. I believe that's really true. And the reason I believe that's true for most people is because I've been there myself. I've been there. So today I want to share three simple things that I've personally learned to find, for me to find clarity in retirement life. And to do that without pressure, without any overwhelming attitudes or without having to spend so much time figuring it all out. And these three things they're not difficult to put into practice, as you'll soon see. The very first thing that I learned that was important for me personally was that I appreciate quiet morning moments. Now, that's a kind of a funny name for what I'm talking about. At work, I was always up at 5:30 and headed into the office because I had to go get things done. Well, dadgummit, since I've retired, I'd like to sleep in sometimes, but my body still seems to wake up between 5:30 and 6 every morning. And so what I do is I contribute to my retirement by setting what I call my quiet morning moments. And the first thing I do is I look for 3 to 5 minutes of just stillness, of just quietness in the day, especially that early morning time. And I make sure I don't have my cell phone around me. It's all turned off. There's no noise going on. There's just quiet. And while I'm sitting there in that quiet time, I ask myself what I consider to be one important question. What is it? What do I really want my life to look like now? Now that I'm retired, what do I want my life to be? What I want it to look like? And I don't want it to look like it used to. And I don't want it to look like what everybody thinks it ought to look like. And I certainly don't want to be waiting for something to happen in my life. I want my life to look like I want it to look like. And to be honest, I want it to look that way now. I want it to get there as rapidly as possible. And so that's my morning routine. I ask myself that question and I talk to myself. And that seems kind of silly, but I talk to myself about what I want my life to look like. Second thing I've learned to do is I've learned to write down my thoughts. I call it a mind dump, and it's not. I don't guess it's really a mind dump. I'm just writing down my thoughts. I sit down and I write out everything out. I don't use my computer. I use actually a journal. And you can use certainly a notebook or paper, whatever you want to use, but I actually physically write down my thoughts during the day. As the day goes by, if something enters my mind that I think is something that I need to write down, I go write it down. And I'll be honest with you, my writing's not really, I'm probably the only one that can even read my writing. It's so messy. It's imperfect. Nobody could even figure out what it is I'm writing. And everything I write down, it's not filtered. It's not organized. And it's just kind of me doing a mind dump. I just empty my mind onto the pages. That's what I try to do. And the reason I do that, I've learned that if I can clear my mind of everything that kind of jumbled up in there, the clarity for me doesn't come from thinking more or thinking harder about what I want things to be. It comes from just making space in my mind for new ideas, new concepts, new excitement to come into my mind. And that writing creates the space in my brain for those thoughts to jump in and to sit there long enough for me to recognize that something good could possibly come from what I'm thinking about. So that's the second thing I do. I write down my thoughts in my journal. That way I can go back and look at it at times if I need to. The third thing I want to say, and this is kind of important, I think, is I think at some point in time when you retire, you need to define your new purpose. And you need to do that in one very short sentence. So many people, when they retire, they don't have a purpose anymore. They've lost all reason for continuing, and so they plop down in that recliner and they start watching TV over and over again, and it becomes a terrible habit that everything seems to slow down. And when things start slowing down in your life, when you're not using your muscles, when you're not using your brain, when you're not in gear, what happens is the gears get stuck. When they get stuck, you don't have much to look forward to in life. And, I got to where I thought it was important for me to define my purpose. And I wanted to do it in one sentence. Now, I wanted to make sure I didn't make it real complicated, and it certainly is not something that I think is enough polished enough to be published anywhere. And the only thing I can guarantee you is it's just honest. And this is not it, but it's when I sat down and started trying to figure this part out, this purpose in one sentence. Here's one of the things that I wrote down. I wrote down, I want to have a life where I feel useful, I feel connected, and I'm financially confident that I can enjoy life until the end time. And that's not what I've wound up using, but I just wanted to give you that as just an idea, something like that you could use. One sentence for me pretty much became a compass. It became a direction that I wanted to work on in my retirement years. I can come back to that sentence over and over and over again and recognize here's where I am, here's where I'm headed, and here's what I need to do today. And so there's the three things that I do to bring this new part of life into the retirement years. And I think hopefully if you'll try some of those things, you'll find that it'll help you a lot. It'll give you some real peace of mind. Here's what I know for sure. Clarity in retirement brings confidence back. And when you bring your confidence back into your life during retirement, you seem to experience an unusual peace of mind. You have a relaxed feeling that retirement's going to be just fine. Lifestyle is going to be just fine. Everything's going to be okay. And I did create a worksheet. I created a worksheet that can help you maybe get started on this kind of stuff. It goes along with this lesson a little bit, and it helps you walk through those 3 steps that I talked about. If you'd like that lesson to be sent to you by email, we'll just comment in the clarity section below. Comment with the word clarity in the section below, and I'll make sure you get it. So anyway, folks, just a quick message for the day. I hope you have a great time in your retirement years. Looking forward to years and years and years of enjoying this reset, this new stage of life, and I hope you are too. Have a great day. God bless. Bye now.